The movie begins with a scene of great destruction. The buildings that used to reach the sky are crumbling down as the once peaceful city is reduced to rubble in an instant because of plants. But these are no ordinary plants. They are violent and huge and also grow at such a terrifying rate. They have conquered 80% of the land in just a week. They are a threat to humanity and animal life in general. 2 years later, we see a little girl called Yuan near a forest, which technically could be anywhere since everywhere is a forest. She is playing with her dog when her father, Yang, suddenly rushes up to her to take her back to the house. The sun is going down, and it is very dangerous to be out at night. But when her dog runs further into the forest, Yuan runs after it, ignoring her father's words, which leaves Yang no choice but to follow his daughter. The dog has already run off somewhere, but Yuan, who has entered the depths of the forest, encounters something terrifying. It is a plant with vines clustered together and moving like a beating heart. It is surrounded by human bodies that are hung up and guarded by thick, tentacle-like vines. Sensing Yuan, the vine grows alert and open their mouths to attack her. Thankfully, Yang gets there just in time to help her escape from them. He carries her in his arms and runs through the forest, not stopping until he gets into the safety of his own house. He only catches his breath after he has locked all the doors and turns on the UV lights, which apparently keeps the plants away. Yuan feels guilty about causing trouble for her father, but Yang assures her she is a good girl. He installs a tracker on her wristwatch before tucking her to bed and lulls her to sleep with a birthday song. That night, after falling asleep on his work table, Yang dreams of the past. Yang, his deceased wife, and Yuan were sitting inside their car in a traffic jam. His wife, who was a scientist, was working on a project to create more resilient plants in order to combat desertification. Suddenly, an emergency video call played on her laptop with her coworker warning her about the plants. Right then, the people around them started screaming and running out of their car. So Yang also got out of his car to investigate, but it was already too late. The violent plants had begun their attack. Yang is woken up by Yuan's scream for help. He sprints to her room, which is filled with UV-rich sunlight, but that doesn't stop the vines from grabbing her entire bed, pulling her down below the floor. He is helpless as they take his daughter through the hole on the floor and vanish. He remembers the tracker he had installed on her watch last night, so he wastes no time in packing his bag and running out of his house to the deserted city in search of Yuan. The tracker leads him to an old research building where he quickly finds his daughter safe inside a room, but her UV flashlight, which keeps the plants away, is dying and the plants are creeping closer and closer to her. Yang passes her his own light as he struggles against the plants that rush up to attack him. He finally manages to break a window that allows sunlight to enter the room before losing consciousness. The sunlight works this time, and the plants that are allergic to photosynthesis slither backwards and disappear. While Yang is dreaming of the past again, the vines have creeped back up from the shadows to wind up around his body, which is in direct sunlight. Just roll with it, okay? Yuan tries to break him free, but with the strength of a child, she cannot be of much help. Just when she begins to panic, a sharp blade cuts through the vines and frees Yang. A small group of soldiers race in and begin to fight against the plants. Their bullets and flamethrowers are useful, but not as effective as a UV light, or that sword one of them was wielding. One of the soldiers fiddles with a UV device, but is unable to operate it. Yang, who has regained consciousness after face planting on the floor, comes in to help. He expertly fixes up the machine, and with a bright shine from the UV light, all the plants stop attacking and retreat into the shadows. After the site is calm once again, the soldiers explain the situation. These plants have evolved to form a global network underground that would cause another global catastrophe in about 2 days. The soldiers are from the joint forces who are deployed to search for a device that would help them sedate all the plants in order to save the human race. As the building they are in used to be a research center, the soldiers quickly find the reagent device and contact headquarters. All they have to do now is take this reagent to a launch station and use it on the plant roots underground, and it has to be at the same time as the other 140 devices scattered around the world. Yang is skeptical about the plan, and as he expresses his doubt, a vine sneaks up to them from below the floor and destroys the UV device. All of them are plunged into darkness as they fight off against the enemy. When at last they manage to blow some holes into the room to let the sunlight in, Yang finds that he and his daughter are separated from most of the other soldiers. The father and daughter are fine, but the same cannot be said for the captain of the troop. While the female soldier, Limo, is trying her best to stop the captain's bleeding, a large snake-like vine slithers into the room in search of its prey. Yang picks up a metal rod to fight it off, but Limo stops him. The plant seems to be blind and only reacts to sound, so they silently pick up the reagent and try to escape. But in a moment of carelessness, Yuan bumps into a shelf. The plant detects her presence and flies to attack her. Limo and Yang rush to her aid, but the plant is strong and cannot be fought off with their strength alone. The captain jumps into action and uses his gun to shoot it, but causes no damage. But now the plant shifts its target to the captain and coils around his body. Limo screams and hurries to help, but it is too late as the captain unpins a grenade and blows himself up along with the plant. The blast throws the other three out of the building and into the street, where they meet up with the rest of the soldiers. It is a relief and a stroke of luck that the reagent got thrown out with them, but it was at the cost of their captain's life, which leaves the soldiers grim. They don't have an engineer with them either, since he was killed in the attack too. So they ask Yang for his help because he seemed to understand the technology while operating the UV light. But Yang is adamant in his refusal. He believes that he must protect his daughter above all else and is unconcerned about the safety of the world. This sentiment is not shared by Yuan. She wants to save the world, as she believes that it is something her late mother would have done. Yang is unable to argue against her, so the father-daughter pair follow the soldiers to participate in the mission. When the group is going through the city, they are alerted by a distress signal sent out by another team. They are only able to hear the words "green tide" when suddenly the ground begins to crack. It causes one of the large buildings to start crumbling down. The group races to the opposite direction to take cover. Just as they manage to escape, the green tide strikes. It is like a tidal wave of plants that are as tall as skyscrapers. They burst out from the ground and crush everything in their path, leaving only rubble. This is just the beginning of the full tide that is going to happen 56 hours later. The road ahead is blocked and the group has no place left to run, but the tide is coming towards them at full speed. While leaping over sinkholes and dodging vines, they manage to get inside a bus to use it as a shelter just in time as the tide reaches them. The bus is rolled over and then flung again and again until it crashes inside a building. The people inside the bus manage to survive, and the condition of the bus is not too bad either. But those who were left outside have all lost their lives from the green tide. The plants have calmed down now, but it seems that the full tide is going to happen sooner than the 56 hours that they had predicted. To relay this information, they try to contact the headquarters, but they find that they have lost signal. Yang finds a solution to this problem, and that is the signal tower right in front of their building. There is a narrow metal tower that has perfectly lodged itself between the two buildings that acts as a bridge connecting them. The makeshift bridge is unsteady and dangerous, but they have no other choice but to cross it. The group carefully walks along the bridge, aware of its flimsy nature. While walking over a narrow and ruined part of the bridge, another building next to them comes crumbling down. It narrowly misses them, but the air blast from its collapse causes Yuan to fall off the bridge. Acting swiftly, the new captain of the team jumps down to save her while hanging from a rope. Yang quickly grabs the rope and tries to pull them up, but the rope is too frayed and cannot hold the weight of the two of them. The captain ties the rope to Yuan and sacrifices himself to save her, leaving Lima in charge of the operation. Yang manages to pull his daughter up, but the bridge is about to collapse soon. The soldiers run forward and enter the building, and with great luck, Yang is just in time to escape safely with his daughter. The group is somehow able to operate the old signal tower with the help of Yang. Lima immediately contacts their commander, and the group is connected to a network with the other 140 groups and their respective headquarters. All the people in the network receive shocking information. The full tide is going to happen 52 hours earlier than previously predicted, meaning that the second catastrophe is only 4 hours away. Also, the underground root system that was supposed to be attacked is now surrounded by a protective membrane, so the previous plan of launching the reagent in 141 areas is now called off. They have to use a single point to push through the membrane so that the root system will implode, but there is no weak point that they can push through. Many people have lost their lives to abandon the operation this easily, but some soldiers start to resist. With a new surge of hope and conviction brought forth by Yang's speech, all the 141 groups over the world decide to continue their mission, even though it only has a 0.3% chance of success. Lima and her team arrive at the launch station, where they quickly boot up the system. The reagent is carefully put inside the machine so that it could be drilled into the root system. But things do not go as smoothly from then on, as another green tide is quick to approach, and the reagent is blocked by the protective membrane, as warned by the headquarters. The rest of the groups around the world face the same problem, as none of their reagents are able to penetrate the barrier. Right when the soldiers start to lose hope, Yang comes up with an idea. The electricity of the launch station is supplied by the geothermal energy of the volcano, so what if they block all the tunnels of the magma? Then the magma would have no choice but to concentrate at one point, and it would easily be able to melt through the barrier. But there is a problem. The connection to the tunnels has been cut off, so they have to go down by themselves and blow up the tunnel control system. Yang and his technical knowledge is vital to this strategy to operate the control system. He promises his daughter to return and goes underground with Lima and another soldier. The underground is burning hot because of the magma, and adding to their trouble, plants have made their home inside the tunnels and are blocking their way. During their fight to get through the cluster of plants, Yang gets injured, and the other soldier ends up sacrificing his life to blast away the plants in order to clear a path. Grieving is a luxury they cannot afford, so Lima and Yang grab the explosive and slowly make their way forward. They encounter a gate, so he asks Lima to find something to pry it open. While she is distracted, Yang limps forward with his injured leg and locks the door behind him. She realizes what he plans to do and begs him to open the gate, but Yang is resolute in his decision. He asks her to take care of Yuan and begins to move forward while ignoring Lima's screams. Outside, the ground is starting to crumble as large branches and vines have sprouted, indicating the beginning of the second catastrophe. As the world stands still to accept their fate, Yang is pushing through to overcome it. Even with his injured leg, he drags himself forward without stopping. As the ceiling crumbles and the debris crashes against his head, he can't walk anymore, so he crawls forward with the explosive. Finally reaching the control system with great effort, he contacts the group of soldiers above ground. Yuan, who is with them, screams for her father to come back. The timer of the explosive hits 0, and a loud blast resonates through the tunnels. The magma quickly concentrates into a single spot and bursts through, melting and burning off all the plants that had formed the membrane. This allows the launcher to be able to inject the reagent into the root system. Soon the enormous plants that had taken over the earth die out one after another as the reagent takes effect. The people in every corner of the earth rejoice as humanity is given a new opportunity. The world may not know the name of the man who saved it from destruction, but Yuan understands the weight of her father's sacrifice.